Okay, guys, we are going to get started because this is a short lesson. Appreciate you guys being here on time. So a couple things. Midterm is obviously tomorrow. So we're going to kind of spend our last review day. I will say I am not going to go over the questions that you would have worked on for homework yesterday, simply because this is a shorter period and I'd like to get to other things. However, if you have a specific question, all right, I posted the answer key. If you have me a specific question, I will gladly go over a question if you have one. If you don't have one, then I just like to move on. I'm not going to go through each individual one. If you have the answer key, you could check it yourself to see how you did with the answers. If you're getting, 17, 18, 19 of them correct, you're in very good shape for tomorrow. If you're not, you got to continue to study and continue to put in work so you're as prepared as possible for tomorrow. So if you have a specific question, you can write in the chat and I could quickly go over it. Otherwise, we are just going to move on to today's specific lessons. All right, we will do the usual review terms. We're going to look at 5 new review terms and 1 new historical circumstances. You're still going to get 10 minutes to do that. So let's get right to that right now. So if you look at today, one second. If you look at today, all right, we have 5 new words. Okay, we have popular sovereignty, a word that we have slightly gone over. Hamilton's financial plan, the Compromise of 1850, the Elastic Clause, and the Unwritten Constitution. Both of these particular terms, all right, were very, what's the word? Elastic Clause and Unwritten Constitution were both very, very similar. Both very, very similar terms. Okay, so I kind of threw them up there together so you can kind of remember what the difference was. And then you're going to put the historical circumstances for the Mexican-American War. All right, so how do we get to the Mexican-American War? So same setup. I'll give you about 10 minutes to do it, and then we will go over it. Remember, go back to your notes. You really get stuck, check it on Google quick, see if it jogs your memory a little bit, but obviously put it into your own words. All right, these aren't the easiest words for sure. They're all kind of tough, to be honest. Maybe Hamilton's financial plan's a little easy. Take another 3 or 4 minutes. 3 or 4 minutes. Okay, take about 1 or 2 more minutes. Okay, guys. So let's go over the terms here. So first off, popular sovereignty. We saw a question yesterday and had a discussion on consent of the governed. Popular sovereignty is actually kind of similar. So basically, it's the idea that government comes from the people. The idea of consent of the governed comes from the word popular sovereignty. So you can use the words kind of interchangeably, as far as I'm concerned. Sovereign means power, and the word popular comes from people. Like you have the popular vote, that is the people vote. So popular sovereignty, when you put the word together, means sovereign means power, and people vote for their leaders and reps. Therefore, people have the power in the government. Okay, they are the most powerful people in the government. Okay, so popular sovereignty is a term very similar to consent of the governed. Thank you for posting that. Hamilton's financial plan. We've gone over this at length throughout this class. This is just a good review because you'll most likely see it tomorrow. It's a plan by Hamilton centered around having a national bank. Also talked about a protective tariff to make sure people are buying and manufacturing in the United States, and along with having one uniform currency. But anytime you see Hamilton's financial plan, please relate it to the national bank. All right. A big topic was the Compromise of 1850 during the antebellum period. The Compromise of 1850 temporarily avoided a civil war, which was good. But it was a compromise between the North and the South. So the compromise ended up being this. The North got California to come in as a free state. This gave them more power in the federal government. This meant the free states and the North were had more representation, so that made them more powerful. But the South, got something else in return. The South got the Fugitive Slave Act, or the Fugitive Slave Law of 1850, which made them a lot stronger because there was a law pretty much actively stopping runaway slaves or stopping people from helping runaway slaves. Okay, so this was in response to the abolitionist movement and the Harriet Tubmans. This Compromise of 1850 did temporarily avoid a civil war, but ultimately started to get us even closer to the actual Civil War, which started a few years after. All right, you'll definitely see the Compromise of 1850 tomorrow. So please keep that in mind. All right, so that leaves us for our last two. Okay, we've spent some time on this. Is the correct? Yes, this is why I threw them together. It also said I should have actually put that. In fact, I should add that, and I'll add that for next time. But yes, you should also mention that it led to popular sovereignty being the decision for all future elections to be held for all decisions to be made on if a state will be a free state or a slave state, that would be held through elections now, and that leads to Bleeding Kansas and so on and so forth. Okay, we spent Monday talking about the reserve powers, yesterday talking about the delegated powers, so now we're going to spend today talking about the elastic clause. Okay, so the elastic clause is also known as the necessary and proper clause. It's also known as the implied powers of the Constitution. And this allows for flexibility in interpreting the Constitution. This basically says that, maybe it's not written in the Constitution, but like my sweatshirt here, you use a little elasticity. You could stretch it out a little bit if you need to. Okay, and elasticity in the elastic clause basically says that the Constitution can be interpreted and saying that, maybe it wasn't written directly as a delegated power in the Constitution, but it doesn't mean the federal government can't take control of it. All right. The most two famous examples that you have seen are Hamilton using his power to say, we need a national bank. Okay, there has to be one central bank. All right, the federal government should take control of that. And also Jefferson used it with the Louisiana Purchase in terms of making a treaty. Okay, it says federal government can make a treaty, therefore we can buy land, even though instead we can't buy land, we can use it according to the elastic clause. All right, we know the hypocrisy of Jefferson being against it when Alexander Hamilton, but then using it, at this point. You will sometimes get that confused with the unwritten Constitution. The unwritten Constitution, in so many words or less, is just 3 or 4 things you need to remember. It's basically this. It's a practice in our government that exists today but was not ever written in the Constitution. So we've had them since George Washington, since John Adams. They've existed for the last 250 years, but they're not actually officially a part of our Constitution. In fact, if you wanted to end them, you can end them. But it's just such a traditional practice in our country that they've become so a part of it. And these are the ones you just kind of have to remember, the 2 or 3 of them. All right, so examples of the unwritten Constitution are, number 1, political parties. Republicans and Democrats that we have today, there was, basically warnings from George Washington to try and avoid political parties. Okay, and then also we have committees in Congress. Okay, that's another thing. Judicial review and the presidential cabinet. All right. We're going to very quickly in the chat because I want to leave you with a few things before you have to go. We only got 5 minutes left. I hate this third period. All right. But Mexican-American War, how do we get to the Mexican-American War? What are some things that had to have happened? I'll give you, 30 seconds to a minute. Okay, we have Manifest Destiny. Yes, that is the big thing. The border dispute. We had the annexation of Texas. Excellent. All right. Yep, those are all good, Abigail. Presidency of Polk. Excellent. Right, those are all historical circumstances. If James Polk is never president, you never have the Mexican-American War, most likely. What else? The big one is Louisiana Purchase, because if we don't buy the Louisiana Territory, we don't get the area that is kind of bordering Mexico and Texas, and that kind of leads to some problems. Okay, so that's very good. All right, let's go into some final tips for tomorrow. What was the treaty that gave Mexico all 5 states? That's called the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. That would be more of a effect of the Mexican-American War. Okay, and the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo gave what's known as the Mexican Cession. I don't really think you need to know the name. It's probably helpful. You just need to know that we got 5 states down in the southwest corner of the United States. That would probably be the most important thing. Okay, final tips. What was the highest score someone got in the midterm ever? 99. I've had a bunch of 99s over the years. It's very tough to get 100 because you need to get a 5 on a thematic essay, and that is very tough to do. All right. Don't worry about, let me go through the final tips for tomorrow. Okay. And then I'll show you how I'm going to grade it really quick. Yeah, I'm going to explain. So number 1, you should spend less than 1 hour on the multiple choice. Okay. It really shouldn't take you more than 1 period. If I see you first period tomorrow, you guys get, if you're 8C1, you get the first crack at it. So you'll have around, 8:30. You can take until 11:40 a.m. to finish, but you guys should probably get it done, by 9:15, 9:20. All right, and if you don't, that's okay. All right, I am trusting you guys to not be taking photos of the answer keys or sending it to other people. All right, I collect your email addresses. All right, I will be looking very carefully to see if there's any discrepancies of, some of the answers that everyone got, if someone got the same score or whatever it is. All right, so please make sure you're doing the right thing. You will have 24 hours to complete the exam, but only to 11:40 a.m. to complete the multiple choice. All right, it's basically due at 10:30 a.m. the following morning. You should get it done by the end of Friday. That's my guess. I'm giving some people a little extra time in case some things come up Friday night and you can't, finish the essay. That's fine. I've already talked to 2 students that need a little bit of an extension because of things they're doing. All right, if you have a problem, you need to let me know ASAP. All right, the multiple choice questions will be numbers 1 through 42 will be in chronological order. Questions 43 through 50 will be a random mix of questions. All right, so if you get to question 6 and you see something, an answer from industrialization, it's probably not the answer. All right, understand that's probably stuff we've done covering back from September, October. Understanding it's in chronological order will help. Correct, Mohammed. All right, the thematic essay tips, okay? There will be 3 bullet points tomorrow. That means there should be a total of 5 paragraphs. I'm not going to remind you of that tomorrow. You need to know that, okay? So you should have 5 total paragraphs. There will be 7 or 8 suggestions in the thematic essay. Make sure you choose 2 topics and write about them in all body paragraphs, okay? So you're going to get 7 suggestions. Make sure you choose 2 and stick to those 2. Okay, Munib, this is not for you. Follow what the bullet points are asking you to do, but essentially you have to tell the grader what the topics are about. We've gone over this now in length, okay? And of course, historical circumstances we know all about. A great thing to do tonight to study one final time is to do some final practice questions, which I shared with you on the Google Classroom, or take the quizzes. Okay, or you can take the quizzes. I think the quizzes would be fantastic. You don't have to take them all, but maybe take a couple of them, especially on the topics that you are not so comfortable with. All right, which leads me to my last thing. So give me 1 second. I want to go over what the grading is going to be like, so you guys are fully aware. Okay, I know I'm flying through this, but I have another class coming in, so I want to make sure, and you guys have to go to something else. It's going to kind of be confusing. You know what? 1 second here. 1 second, 1 second. Just bear with me. If you go a minute late to class, I apologize. I'd rather show you this, because this is a more realistic thing. Okay, that's not it. Oh, my Lord. Conversion chart. This is it. All right, so if you guys follow here, it's going to be a little bit confusing. So what I'm going to do with your thematic essay is I'm going to double the score. I'm going to pretend if you get a 4 on your thematic essay, that means you're going to get a 4 on your DBQ. So you're going to take that number and double it. Okay, you don't have to worry about doing this. It's something I'm doing just to explain it. Okay, so let's you get a 4 on your thematic essay. Okay, that means you have a total essay score of 8. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the multiple choice questions you got correct, and I'm going to add 13. I'm going to pretend that you got basically all 13 multiple DBQ questions correct. Okay, I'm pretending there's a DBQ. So let's say you got 5 multiple choice wrong. So you got 45 correct. I'm going to add 13 to that. You get a 58. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to your essay score, which was an 8. I'm going to go across in the conversion chart, and you're going to get a 98. So don't worry about how the conversions work. I just want to show you that basically you will have a good opportunity to do very well if you do on the multiple choice or do well on the essay. If you do very well on one of them, you can't fail. Ain't going to happen. All right, if you get a 4 on the thematic essay, you're not failing this test tomorrow. Okay, if you get, only 2 multiple choice wrong, there's no way you're failing. All right, if you do both really well on both, you're going to be in the mid to high 90s for sure. All right, please email me if you have any questions. Okay, I wish you guys the best of luck studying. I will see 8C1 tomorrow, 8:25, and I will see 8A1. I will see you guys 4th period. Have a nice day. Email me if you have questions.